3 years ago, this famous diving spot looked like this, but now it looks like this. So what happened? Let me show you the shocking transformation that's left scientists and divers alike scrambling for answers. Welcome to the Red Sea in Egypt. Unfortunately, one of our favorite diving spots on this planet has changed completely. So what's behind this dramatic turn? It's something called coral bleaching, a problem that's sadly becoming way too common as our oceans heat up. When the water gets too warm, coral kicks out the colorful algae that they rely on to survive, turning them ghostly white. They're not dead yet, but they're incredibly stressed, and if things don't cool down soon, they won't make it. The way the Red Sea is shaped makes things worse, especially the south, where water is hotter and doesn't circulate as much as it does in the north. Just 3 years ago, diving in the southern Red Sea felt like stepping into a vibrant underwater city. There was so much color and life there to see. But now, those same dive spots have turned into a ghostly underwater wasteland, with only the toughest coral species managing to survive. Here's the surprising part. While the south struggles, the northern reefs seem to be holding their ground against rising temperatures. This sharp contrast raises some big questions. Could the northern Red Sea hold the key to understanding how some corals might survive in the warming world? It sounds almost too good to be true, but that's exactly what's happening in parts of the Red Sea. Why are some reefs flourishing while others crumble? And what could this mean for the future of our coral ecosystems across the world? In the northern Red Sea, corals are defying the odds. With an average living coral cover of 48%, these reefs are not just surviving, they're thriving. The contrast is striking. While the northern reefs are vibrant and full of life, the southern Red Sea tells a different story. In the north, nearly 1,000 species of fish call this place home, with 17% found nowhere else on Earth. In the south, the fish population is disappearing, and the corals are bleached and broken. So what's causing this dramatic divide? The corals of the northern Red Sea have been shaped by thousands of years of exposure to higher temperatures, essentially training them for climate change. Scientists are studying them because they believe these resilient northern corals could become the foundation of regenerating reefs globally. But here's the catch. Even these super corals aren't invincible. As climate change continues to escalate, researchers warn that northern Red Sea's resilience may not last forever. We are in a race against time to understand and protect these unique ecosystems before it's too late. In the recent heat wave of 2023, the southern Red Sea, where corals were already struggling, took an even more devastating hit. Bleaching rates shot up, with some areas losing up to 80% of their coral coverage. It was our underwater city disappearing overnight, and I witnessed this stark contrast firsthand after my visit just last year. The increasing frequency and intensity of marine heat waves pose a significant threat, even to the resilient northern reefs. Without intervention, 74% of the coral habitats in Egypt could vanish by the end of the century. The 2023 heat wave was a wake-up call, highlighting the need for immediate action to protect coral reefs from both local stressors and global climate impacts. But believe it or not, the biggest threat might come from the people who love these reefs the most. Imagine now a diver traveling there across the world and accidentally kicking a fragile coral structure that took decades to grow. Just like that, years of growth gone. Now imagine thousands of those divers every day visiting those corals. Studies show reefs in popular diving spots decline faster than less visited areas. But who is exactly responsible? Less experienced divers. In contrast, experienced divers maneuver through reefs without causing harm due to improved buoyancy and finning technique. Experienced divers often also become passionate advocates for coral protection, fully understanding the irreplaceable value of these ecosystems. As tourism continues to grow, this spells trouble for coral reefs. To address the issue, Egypt has taken a bold step, requiring advanced certification for access to some of its most vulnerable dive sites, especially by liveaboard. But ultimately, the responsibility lies with all of us in the diving community to become better stewards of the ocean. Because if we divers fail to stand up for the life in the ocean, no one else will. Coral reefs aren't the only victims of human activity in the sea. Overfishing is wreaking havoc, pushing marine ecosystems to their breaking point. For centuries, we've treated the ocean as an endless breadbasket, assuming it could never run out of its resources. With so much life, how could we ever imagine it could run out? However, commercial fishing has skyrocketed, with massive nets indiscriminately trapping everything in its path. These nets don't just distinguish between young and old, endangered or abundant. They clear out entire communities of marine life. Even more concerning, many fish species take years to reach reproductive age, sometimes up to 10 years old or more. But modern fishing practices scoop them up before they ever have a chance to reproduce, ending any offspring they could have had. Even worse, removing key species like sharks, disrupting the delicate balance of those marine ecosystems. Without them, algae can overgrow, unchecked, suffocating coral reefs and creating vast dead zones where oxygen is depleted and fish can no longer survive. The impact of overfishing is already evident. In the 1990s, the North Atlantic cod fishery collapsed due to overexploitation, and despite decades of conservation efforts, it hasn't fully recovered. It's a stark reminder of how we can quickly deplete something we once thought was unlimited. With a $14 million initiative, Egypt is taking bold action to protect these ecosystems, and not just because for their beauty, but also because they're a vital part of their economy and food security for millions of people. The Egyptian Red Sea Initiative aims to restore nearly 100,000 coral reefs through a mix of hands-on conservation and innovative strategies. This includes creating sustainable policies for fishing and tourism, strengthening protections for vulnerable reefs, and even using financial tools like reef insurance to encourage responsible investment in marine-friendly businesses. And let's also hope some of that money goes a little bit into the liveaboard regulation, because one too many liveaboards have been sinking in that region, if you ask me. So what exactly is Egypt's $14 million plan to save its coral reefs? It's a comprehensive 6-year strategy targeting specific reef areas, including over 13,000 reefs in Wadi El Gamal National Reserve and more than 50,000 in the Red Sea Northern Islands Reserve. The plan involves capacity building for reef monitoring, developing management plans for new protected areas, and using innovative technologies to track reef health and growth. So more data. This is important because it is truly rare for a country to spend so much money to study or even protect the ocean life. Our research and understanding of the ocean today is still surprisingly thin, but the implications of this project stretch far beyond Egypt's borders. The stakes could not be higher. The success or failure of this project has implications beyond the Red Sea. If Egypt's approach works, it could serve as a global model for saving coral reefs in the warming world. The Red Sea's reefs aren't just stunning underwater wonders, they're critical lifelines for marine ecosystems and the economies that depend on them. But as time runs out, even these resilient corals face unprecedented threats from all sides. I certainly would not want to see a world without coral and a deserted ocean. Coral reefs, as a whole, cover only 0.2% of the entire world's seabed, yet they're home to at least a quarter of all marine life. If we don't act now, 99% of the shallow reefs could disappear by the end of the century, even if we manage to keep global warming at 1.5 Celsius. But if you haven't been following along the global warming projections, it's kind of looking a little less likely. Egypt, Maldives, and Palau are taking extreme initiatives to protect their waters, outright banning commercial fishing and leaning hard into controlled ecotourism. I commend these countries, and I hope they remain stellar examples of what can be done, and I'd like to see more follow in their footsteps. But everyone can play a part. Support local conservation initiatives. Choose eco-friendly tourism and push for policies that reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Do it also for our future generations. Can you imagine having to tell your children what coral was like? Subscribe, and if you enjoyed this video, I'm sure you're gonna love this next series that I created to help improve scuba diving skills. Check them out here and here. Until next time.